So today we're focused on custody. That's foundational. We think if you can keep people's assets, they'll trust you to do everything else afterwards. So we'll start with the foundational piece. We'll build up from there. We'll have execution capabilities because it's not just the safekeeping, it's the movement and transfer of those assets that we want to facilitate. And then over time, as we have more regulatory clarity and we see greater institutional adoption, those are discussions we're happy to have. But right now, on the retail side, the market is fairly saturated. There's a number of exchanges servicing the retail customer base. I think our focus is on where the demand is and where the opportunity is. And we think it's just massive on the custody side and the execution side.
Yeah, we're really excited to launch the Bitwise Web3 ETF, BWeb. These are companies that are building on the new capabilities that crypto and blockchain provides, developing apps and services that help open up this new generation of the internet we're calling Web3. I think it's a massive generational opportunity, and now is a great time to launch it. You don't want to launch these products at the peak of bull markets. Companies are overvalued. This is an interesting entry point to get in on one of the next biggest changes in technology, one of the next big investment opportunities, and that's what BWeb represents. Yeah, amazing timing to launch this fund the day that Twitter that must move forward. It was the 6th largest holding of the fund on inception. When you look at Twitter, you see a social media giant. You see a giant that does a couple of things. One, it creates an opportunity for creators to build their audience, which is a big part of Web3, the creator economy, and sort of empowering individuals to build their own businesses and brands is a big part of what Web3 represents, and Twitter is a leader in that space. And as we looked at Twitter under its previous leadership, we saw it moving strongly in the direction of Web3. We saw it moving toward a more decentralized future. We saw it moving toward a feature that empowered individuals. I think it's hard to say what will happen under Musk's leadership, but societal trends are going to push Twitter in that direction anyway. I think Web2 companies that try to constrain their users, their creators, the people who are adding value to that ecosystem, that try to sort of control that, are going to be surpassed by Web3 leaders. And when we looked at what Twitter was saying in its SEC filings and other places, it looked like it recognized the Web3 future and was building in that direction. Obviously, we'll see what happens now, but of course, if it goes private, it comes out of the fund anyway.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think. And we have NASDAQ says they're only going to be focused on custody. And right now, custody is focused around the institutional investor. But guys, we know that NASDAQ has been focusing on tokenizing stocks for about 10 years. They are getting ready for the 4th Industrial Revolution. And then we have Bitwise launching their ETF on Web3. And who are some of the companies in it? Twitter and Facebook. And like I told you, they're the perfect platform for the social credit as China is doing. But the custodian of the ETF of Bitwise is BNY Mellon. And guys, do you remember the heir who passed away with over $1 billion of XRP? And BNY Mellon has been heading away for cryptocurrencies. If you look at the old papers, old documents, BNY Mellon has been ahead of the game. Now, we know Bitcoin got its wings after the 2008 crash. We were tired of the system. And now we see the central banks have taken over Bitcoin because they gotta beat a middleman. Peer-to-peer transactions would have been the same as bartering. And you would have been able to keep your personal privacy. Even though the transaction would have been on blockchain, your personal identity would be unknown, just like cash, how it should be. And then we have CNBC does a skit on crypto money laundering. And guys, we know the banks are the biggest what? I'm going to let you finish that. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
I would argue that the anticipation of institutions failing and the fact that institutions have been failing to some extent since the financial crisis is what got Bitcoin from 0 to 20,000. And if more institutions fail, or if more people believe that these institutions will fail, is happening in some places around the world, that will cause the next wave of adoption, at least in terms of retail and consumer adoption for people that are failing and don't believe that institutions are failing and believe they'll fail more in the future.
Fighting falling prices, some are pointing to an even bigger obstacle ahead of mainstream adoption, and that is billions in fraud. Kate Rooney joins us with more. Fraud has been an issue for as long as crypto existed. Where does it stand now?
Yeah, it has not gotten much better, Dee. It's still a pretty big issue here. Crime is still weighing on the crypto industry as it tries to become more widely accepted and legitimate. Data firm Elliptic has some new research on the scale of this. Since the start of 2020, there's been roughly $4 billion in illicit crypto transfers. Theft is still by far the biggest moneymaker for criminals. Tornado Cash Service coming in at number 2. It was recently sanctioned by OFAC, followed by dark web services, North Korean heist scams, and then Ponzi schemes. Elliptic calls out 3 of the newer blockchain technologies as the big culprits here. You may have heard of decentralized exchanges, decentralized finance. They also call it DeFi. These don't have intermediaries by design. That sector, though, saw about $1.2 billion in hacks. It was about a third of all of the crypto stolen. Another billion or so came from coin swap services. Those let users transfer crypto within or across different blockchains without opening an account. And as Elliptic put it, these cater almost exclusively to a criminal audience. And then bridges, as the name suggests, they act as a bridge for swapping assets across some of those different blockchains, which aren't always compatible. And while cryptocurrency transactions are anonymous, they are actually usually traceable, and that has helped law enforcement. In some cases, the Colonial Pipeline is the big example, but criminals are taking advantage of money moving across those different assets and blockchains. They call this chain hopping. Elliptic says there's growing risk from sanctioned and terrorist entities taking advantage of that, and the Treasury Department is paying attention. They called out chain hopping by name in that FSOC report this week and say some of the large-scale attacks are one way that crypto could threaten U.S. financial stability.
It's like whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
You figure one form out and then another one pops up.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort, and China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, The fourth industrial revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.